Hi there, well, welcome along. My name is Chris Tickin. For those of you who don't know me, I think most people here I've actually talked to, but I'm one of the senior product managers here, and one of my jobs is to make sure that everyone in the company kind of has a common understanding about what we do and what we're about. Because we're quite a fragmented company, spread all over the world, and mostly working from home, it's sometimes very easy to focus on your own little bit of what you're doing and not realize the big picture of what Rezolve is about and what Rezolve does. And so this is what today's all about, really, is to kind of give a fairly high level overview of what Rezolve is about, try and kind of create a common understanding within all branches of the company about what we're working towards and in terms of the technology we produce. Because I don't know about you, but whenever anyone comes and sort of asks me, what does Rezolve actually make? I always end up struggling a little bit to describe it, and always end up having this sort of quite complicated and rambling thing about e-commerce and watermarking and triggers and things like that. So I'm going to have a go at encapsulating what we do in a handy 15-minute presentation, and that'll sort of sum it up a bit. And then what we're going to do in future presentations is kind of build on this and start exploring some of the things more in depth. So let's get beginning. So the Rezolve architecture, what does Rezolve develop and sell? And let's look at this from another point of view. We're going to look at what makes Rezolve unique in the marketplace. Because at the end of the day, if you're a software company, you've got to actually do things which other people aren't doing. And otherwise, you'll go nowhere. And one of the things we do, which is unique, is location-based engagements, the ability for a sort of whoever using our, whatever company has built an app using our technology, they can see where someone was when they scanned a poster. That comes through with the order, or where they listen to an advert or so on. And that's actually quite unique, that's quite special, the fact that we can provide that information about where a consumer was when they engaged with it. And the fact that we've got our watermarking integrated with an e-commerce offering, the fact that the technology which is used to run an online shop is the same technology which is used to set up the way you access the online shop, to set up the triggers that you use to actually access that. That's also quite unique. That's quite special. We've got that sort of close integration between the engagement and then the transaction, and having that sort of seamless integration there. The fact you can do a multi-store model, very important to the people we're talking to. These are the sort of the wow lives of this world who are out in Taiwan, and just people in Korea as well. They're really excited by the fact that we're not just saying, here's some technology to build an online shop. We're saying, here is some technology to build a whole model of online shops. But the feature I want to talk about, which I'm particularly excited, which is the foundation, I suppose, on everything that Rezolve is built on, is instant engagement, which is the the ability for someone to just simply scan a piece of audio or a QR code or a picture, immediately see a landing page sort of come up, and then for them to be able to check details, slide, and then they're done. The fact that sort of level of simplicity with e-commerce is possible is something we do very well. And anyone who knows anything about technology knows that in order for something to appear simple and smooth and effortless, there's an awful lot of work that goes in under the hood in order to support that. And that's what we're going to look at today. So let's look at it from the consumer point of view, first of all. When what they have in their hands is a phone, and then within that is a branded app. And so, Wowlife has an app with our technology in it. We make our own app, the reference app as well, and we're also building apps for particular sort of opportunities in China and so on. But by and large, our business model is that a telco or a brand who will have an app or will build an app, and in order to have all our wonderful Rezolve technology within it, we will give them the SDK. We'll obviously not give them, we'll sell them the SDK. They will integrate that with their app, and they will then have access to all this wonderful engagement and e-commerce technology. So let's talk about the SDK. That is one of the sort of pillars that Rezolve is built on. the SDK provides the operational framework for everything that Rezolve does. Signing up, creating an account within the app, scanning assets, browsing stores, placing orders, managing your account. It provides all the functions which supports that operation. We provide that to our customers, and then they integrate that with their own app. That is sort of our foundational business model. But the SDK doesn't hold all that data within it. So it's not like the app, contains, all this store information and all this product information and all of that. That would be daft. All that comes from elsewhere, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So the SDK does all the operation, but where's all the data coming from, which actually underpins that? And whenever you do an operation on the SDK, what it does is it contacts a cloud, a cloud sort of range of cloud services, which do an awful lot of different things. They look after, we have developed sort of services and technology for doing watermarking, inventory, communication, load balancing, caching, engagement, or everything that is required for a complex e-commerce transaction to take place. Now, because I don't want to keep you here all day, we're not going to go into each of these in depth, although we could. What we're going to talk about is sort of collect those together collectively under a single heading to make it a bit easier to understand, which is sort of the Rezolve Commerce Engine, the RCE, and that is our sort of a cloud-based technology platform which supports all the operations which happen within the app. And today, specifically, we're going to look at a few key areas of the RCE. We're going to look at product inventory. We're going to look at the orders within the RCE. We're going to look at the watermarking engine and sort of how and what happens when and how that interacts with the SDK. And we're going to have a look at some of the account features as well. I'm going to talk about those. Obviously, that's all very well. You've got this lovely data sitting up on the cloud. One of the most important things that the RCE does is a big, thick layer of security wrapped around that. So only people we want to get at that data can get at that data. So, in summarizing what we've just sort of seen there, it's a cloud-based e-commerce engine that drives everything that we do. If you really want to get technical, it's a complex set of interrelated core systems, handling stored data, security, load balancing, all that good stuff, payment integrations. And the RCE is actually the thing that makes us sort of unique. It's much more than just a database, of just like a place to stick orders. It's actually what drives everything that we do. It's a sort of repository of data together with all the communication protocols and technologies that are required to actually make a complicated e-commerce system like Rezolve actually function. So that's our two pillars that Rezolve are built on, the SDK and the RCE. So how do those sort of work? How do those support our key operations? And one of the key things which we want to enable in an app is the ability to scan an ad and buy stuff. In Rezolve terminology, we call that a workflow or user case. I sometimes get confused between those. But what you're doing is you scan, you open your app, you scan a watermarked asset, you're shown a landing page, the consumer then slides to buy, says, yep, that looks good, I'll have that, slides to buy, and then they're informed that the app tells them that their order was placed successfully. That is our classic buy flow that really that sort of underpins, that's at the core of everything we do. I think we'll take a little break from PowerPoint, and we're going to have a go at showing you that flow in action. And we're going to have a look at, where's my picture? There it is. That's a watermarked picture. I'm just going to fire up my phone and do some screen.
Oh, a bargain.
What's that?
A bargain, this candle.
Yeah, well, it isn't like Taiwan dollars. So
okay,
that's
something like
Okay, there we are. That's my phone. So I am a consumer now. I've seen that beautiful candle. I want it. So I'm going to open up Rezolve. As I open it up, the SDK is actually, what it's doing there is it's pinging the RCE and saying, oh, is this user, crazy, is this user ready to log in? Oh, there we are. And so it brings up the scan screen. It scanned that candle image. There we are. There's the candle brought up. There's a little custom field on there I could fill in if I wanted to. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to go, yep, that looks good. I'm happy with that. I'm going to purchase that. And then I get a little confirmation that the purchase has been successful. So that is the sort of the key operation that, we are all about, that we want to support. So let's actually let's break that down into stages. And we're going to look at actually how the SDK and the RCE support that key user flow. So first of all, we'll look at logging in. As we see, I opened up the app. And what happened initially, while it was loading, is the SDK sent my username and password, which was all saved within it, to the RCE and says, is this person legit? And so the RCE gets that, looks it up and goes, yep, this one looks fine. They can log in, they can start scanning. So the RCE confirms they're a valid user. That information gets sent back to the SDK and the consumer is ready to scan. You see what I'm talking about? This is a high level sort of thing. We could just this, we could do sort of, hours and hours on. But I just want to show you sort of the relationship there about how the SDK pings the RCE looks it up, responds, comes back. That's what we see as well with scanning an asset. The consumer scans the watermarked asset. The watermark details are passed to the RCE. So the SDK detects it, because they've got technology within that for detecting the watermark. It goes, oh, I've got watermark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. What am I supposed to do with that? Go on, RCE, help me out here. So it sends that information to the RCE. The RCE goes, right, I can help you out with this. That looks familiar. And what it does is it basically looks up where that watermarked asset should take people to. So it looks up within its little index, cross-reference that with the product inventory. It goes, yep, I've got that. That is the candle. That's what page you need to show them. What it does then is it sends that back to the SDK. It says what this customer needs to see is the candle. And the landing page is shown to the consumer. So you can see there you've got sort of a relationship between two different parts of the RCE's database there, the watermarking part and the inventory as well. And then let's talk about making a purchase, which obviously we're very keen for people to do. So the consumer slides to buy, and the SDK pings the RCE and goes, right, this person is shopping. This person's going to buy, help me out here, what do I do now? And so the SDK's, the RCE, first of all, it checks the stock levels, because obviously, ultimately, we want like thousands of people, using our technology. And if there's promotion, which has a limited number of things, we don't want to sell, we don't want our merchants selling things they don't have. So the RCE checks his inventory and says, yep, that looks good, go right ahead. And then it accepts the order, and the order information is added to that part of the RCE into the orders database. Of course, orders are more than just orders. You've also got to have the transaction taking place. And what happens then is the payment information is sent to the payment gateway. And actually, these the sort of so the payment information is looked up within the customer's account. The RCE is then the thing which contacts the payment gateway. The payment gateway gets the credit card details, goes, yep, that looks good. Of course, it might be something like QuickPass as well, this payment gateway. But either way, information is sent to a payment gateway. Payment gateway says, yep, that looks fine, takes the transaction, and then confirms that information back. And ultimately, the RCE gets that transaction information in, all looks good, saves it all, and finally, it responds back to the SDK, yep, that order's taken place, we're all good to go. And there again, you see how different parts of the RCE kind of work together to make that transaction happen. The account and payment stuff is held in a very different part of the RCE to sort of everything else. But today we're talking about this all together as one thing. So that is the buy flow, sort of from end to end, showing all the different parts of the RCE and the SDK which are involved with that. So that is a sort of basically how how a consumer effectively interacts with the RCE. But what about a merchant? Because how does a merchant get access to the technology we have there? The consumer just has the SDK and the app. They can do everything they need to do. But obviously, as a merchant, you need a little bit more access to it. So what we do is we provide a user interface for the RCE, which is called the Merchant Portal. And it's quite important to sort of differentiate the RCE and the Merchant Portal. Some people get them a bit confused in their heads. The RCE is the cloud-based technology platform which holds all the data, does all the operations that are required. The Merchant Portal is a user interface for that. It allows a human being to view the most important information there. It allows them to update the store information, allows them to view orders, and then also carry out an export, also allows the watermarking to happen as well. So the Merchant Portal does that. And that's very well if you just want a human being interacting with the RCE. But what happens if you need another piece of technology interacting with the RCE? And if they've got like a customer has got their own ERP system which they want to connect in. Obviously, we don't just want them, give them free rein to do whatever they want within that. What we do is we actually provide a set of APIs, and they're essentially the friendly welcoming committee for information and information requests from an external system. So the external system will say, I would like all the orders from the last week, please. And the APIs goes, no problem, sir. Sit right there. I'll get those for you. Goes off into the RCE. Come on, lads. We've got to get this person the information they want. And then the information comes back and is sent back in a nice, friendly format. So that's how the APIs sort of sit within that system. It allows external systems to access the information they need. And that sort of picture there is quite a good thing to always keep in mind when you're thinking about Rezolve's architecture. Essentially, it's the twin pillars which we've been talking about throughout, the SDK which goes in the app, and the Rezolve commerce engine which supports all that. But we also you're going to need integration with the payment gateway. That's going to be different on a per customer basis depending on what payment gateway they want to integrate with. We also provide that merchant portal for human beings to access the RCE and see the information there, and we also provide APIs for external systems to interact. And that's quite a good image to keep in your mind when you're thinking about it. Also, worth saying finally, the blue arrows there, i.e. the ones between the SDK and the merchant portal and the RCE, they're the ones that we provide as standard. Everything else has to be sort of added and integrated on a per customer basis. So an integration with a payment gateway is done on a per customer basis, depending on what gateway needs to be used. And similarly, any integration with APIs obviously are very different from customer to customer. And we're just going to round up this then. We've basically kind of talked about that merchant portal. Everyone knows about. It's your built-in user interface using for human beings to get in there and start working with the system. The APIs, I call them merchant APIs. Maybe that's a better way to put it. They're the ones which external systems, merchant systems connect to. It's different from all the core APIs. So the merchant API.
Yes, that's what we call it too.
Okay, good. Good to know I'm not making stuff up. At the moment, those are for products and orders. So, for instance, there's no merchant API at the moment for doing watermarking on bulk, for an example. But yeah, products and orders are all accessible via merchant APIs if people need to integrate those with their custom systems. In summary, Rezolve's functionality is based around two main components. The SDK, sits within the app, controls all the functions and operations that the consumer sees. The RCE sits in the cloud and basically does all the thinking and all the data and all that sort of thing to actually make e-commerce happen. And together they enable our rather wonderful and unique instant engagement, which people get very excited about when they see it in action. It's not a thing we take for granted, but it's pretty darn good. Thank you very much for all that. And I should put some Portuguese on there, shouldn't I? We have a lot of languages represented now in the company. So that is that.